Crab Champions has well over 200 unique pieces of loot if we're looking at all of the weapon mods, ability mods, melee mods, perks. There's even enhancements now. I'm gonna be honest, it's probably more like 250 unique pieces of loot at this point. So today I want to highlight 5 fairly simple yet very, very strong loot combinations that I think will help you out regardless of your build. There are obviously more than just 5 loot combinations that are strong in this game. I'm not saying these are necessarily even the 5 strongest. I'm just saying that these 5 are going to be easy to get, and they're going to help you out, and they're going to give your build a nice boost. They're surprisingly strong, so let's get into it. Off rip, we would be doing this game a disservice in the community and everyone if we didn't mention the original GOAT, the original king combination of glue shot, aura shot. I know it's not as strong as it used to be, but this is still worth finding if you can find it. So glue shot gives you an additional boost in damage as well as your projectile sticking to the last enemy it hits. I say last because technically if you have pierce, it will only stick to the second enemy or the third enemy, depending on how many layers of pierce you have, right? Then we have aura shot, which is where your shots have that kind of larger bubble around them throughout the majority of their projectile lifespan. I say majority because there seems to be a delay before it spawns. So weapons with super fast projectiles, it spawns pretty far away, not as strong there. But with slow moving weapons, slow moving projectiles, it spawns almost immediately and it's very strong. But on its own, it kind of just does damage in that aura to enemies as it passes them. So the combination here is that when it sticks with glue, that aura stays and continues to do ticks of damage until the glue eventually goes away. This is an insanely easy way to rack up very high damage counts against single target enemies, but especially those elites, those champion level guys, and obviously bosses. It's very strong. So I mentioned the downsides of pierce when talking about glue, and that means, yeah, you should probably avoid piercing shot or any other items that can add pierce. Maybe you don't run this on sniper. Maybe you don't run it on blade. And definitely don't run it on weapons with the fastest projectile speed, like AR at this point, or the dual pistols, the burst pistols. But for the rest of the weapons, it is very strong and it's worth checking out still. Do not sleep on glue shot or a shot. Next, we'll move into another one that a lot of people are probably familiar with, and this is just any combination of additional projectiles, not additional things like thorns and maces, but just additional projectiles. Triple shot, square shot, arc shot, and then adding split shot on top of it. Because for some reason, split shot can chain on top of these additional projectiles. Even after the change that Noisestorm made a handful of updates ago, where these extra projectiles are additive, so if you're shooting an AR and it shoots 1 bullet, 1 projectile, and then you have arc, it's not that that 1 turns into 7, it's that you shoot 1 plus an additional 7. So it's really shooting 8. Either way, that doesn't change the fact that the arcs can also split. The triples can also split. Squares also split. X shots also split. You get the point here? Split can chain on top of additional projectiles. That does not happen with the rest of them. Arcs cannot then triple. Arcs cannot extra square, right? But they can split. So this turns any weapon into just an absurdly high projectile count. A shotgun when it wasn't ever supposed to be. In this game, at the end of the day, the majority of builds are effectively having your weapon be a vehicle to proc things. And you know how you proc more things? With more projectiles, because that's just more chances to proc the thing. It's pretty straightforward. So turning your weapon into an absurdly high projectile count, full auto shotty, it's a winning formula. It just is. You want to snowball your build? You think your mace shots are nice? Find a triple, find an arc, and then also find a split, and watch how much crazier it gets with just 1 level of those items. Now let's move into a pretty new one that I've personally discovered, but I'm sure some of you already know. Cloning explosion, bouncing explosion, and then anything you'd like for your ability. This is how you get the crazy turret builds. This is how you get the crazy mushroom builds. This is how you get a crazy air missile build, right? Airstrike. Because cloning explosion spawns a literal clone of your projectile when it's fully done, and then bouncing makes it bounce again. So for something like the airstrike build that I did, the crazy one, and I'm sure you've seen other clips of people going even crazier, you throw it, it explodes. Now you add bouncing. It bounces once and explodes a second time when it lands a second time. Then you have cloning. So it lands once, clones to a second one, and it bounces and then explodes, right? So we're exponentially increasing the number of explosions we have. And then if you add anything like a turret or like a spore explosion or a mushroom, ultra mushroom, it just keeps happening over and over and over again. So if you see builds where someone throws 1 grenade and it turns into 100 turrets, this is how. They have cloning explosion level 10 or so, they have bouncing explosion level 10 or so, and then they have 1 level of a turret, 1 level of ultra mushroom, 1 level of sight, 1 level of energy ring, right? It just goes insane. So if you want to do an ability build, this is your bread and butter for most of them. Let's move into another one that I think personally is one of the strongest in the game at this point, and it took me very long time to figure it out. I actually just recently figured it out within the past couple of months. It's the scatter shot boomerang shot combo. You can see this on full display in my video rocking Firebreaker. I rocked fire and ice on the ice staff, and it was strong, but it wasn't super strong until I found scatter shot paired with boomerang shot. Now, I did happen to find that pretty early on into the run, so it goes extremely hard, extremely early, but that is why it was so strong, because scatter shot essentially is built-in split shot at the point of hitting something. And when I say built-in split shot, I also mean kind of built-in bouncing shot. It's a weird combination of the two, not quite as strong as having level 1 split and level 1 bouncing, but at the same time it is. If you hit, you can just shoot at the ground, and if you have something like spark shot, for example, it'll just spawn more. It just spawns some more and they bounce a little bit. And then the crazy thing is boomerang shot, because boomerang shot will return those additional bounced split projectiles back to where they landed. So they kind of bounce and they go out typically, unless it's super high gravity, like maces, for example. And then they come back. So you're constantly destroying enemies, having projectiles come out and then come back with the boomerang. Anyway, I don't have too much more to say about this one. It's just really, really strong and a nice way to get around having to find level 1 of many other items. You can just find scatter shot and you can just find boomerang shot. Just 2 items, and it is insane. Take my word for it. Go try it out. And finally, for combo number 5, let's go into one that's not focused on our damage, not focused on our weapon or ability, but focused on our health and income. This is Fortitude, Regenerator, and Gold Coating. Oh, they're all on their own decent, depending on your build, but this turns into passive max HP gains and passive income. And you know how much people like talk about passive income in the United States, baby, let's go. We can do it in video games as well. So Fortitude increases your max HP each island. It's not super high at level 1, but it helps. But then you still have to heal it. Something like Regenerator is passive healing at all times. There you go. You're constantly increasing your health and then healing up to that new increase, assuming you're not taking damage, assuming you don't have massive skill issues. I know it's a tough one, but if you can get by, then you're just constantly going up in max health and healing up to that new max health. Gold Coating gives you income based on healing. So if every single island, you're increasing your health, healing a little bit, and getting paid to do it. That's a pretty good combo in my opinion. And oh no, 3 items. That sounds a little bit harder to get. You can pretty much guarantee you'll find Fortitude or Regenerator in that Island 1 Regenerator chest. So you're already, a third of the way there, and you really don't necessarily need Fortitude and Regenerator, but obviously it guarantees that you will be healing every single island and will be getting that gold coating bonus income. Now, is this the fastest way to make money? No, of course not. Does Paycheck outscale it eventually? Probably. I don't know. But the point is that this is surprisingly good, and it's surprisingly easy to get because of that Regenerator chest on Island 1. I will also say that if you can find valued customer as well, you're getting a nice little econ boost, then you purchase from the shop, max HP goes up even further. I'm starting to really enjoy a little bit of passive healing, a little bit of passive income, as opposed to spending an entire portal dedicated to healing, dedicated to income. Obviously, you still want to take those here and there, especially at the beginning of a run, get these things in place early as opposed to late. But once they're in place, you just get a nice buff. And then you can focus on having a good, strong weapon or melee or ability and taking things out. And you don't have to just spam health and spam econ deep into the 3rd or 4th biome. I am a huge fan of econ builds. I always say it at the end of the build guides. You can never go wrong with just getting a shit ton of money and then buying what you need at the shop. But at the same time, because of the portal choices, because of things like Anvil Islands that you really never want to skip if you can help it, Relic Islands that you never want to skip, it's nice to be able to pick those more often because your health is covered and your econ is covered already. So anyway, that's all I got. 5 pretty decent, pretty strong, and pretty easy to get build combos in Crab Champions. I'm sure there are many others, so what are your favorite combos that I didn't cover in this video? Put them in the comments, join my Discord, let me know. Let's have a discussion. If you liked the video and it helped you out, hopefully it did, like the video. Literally scroll down, click the like button. It does help me out. And subscribe for more of your second favorite F word. I'm your guy for Crab Champions, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.